I teased this a little bit last week on how the Tigers could quickly come back into relevance and contention as soon as next year in 2022. And it would, that's incumbent on, young players coming up and performing. And we're starting to see that, especially with the rotation. Starting to see that in the outfield with Daz Cameron and Derek Hill coming up and hitting and playing fantastic defense. Akil Baddoo is a surprise Rule 5 pick that we talked about a lot at the beginning of the season. He tailed off after his incredible start, but has since righted the ship and is a dangerous major league hitter. His power numbers aren't crazy, but he's on base all the time and creating havoc and looking like a really nice Rule 5 pick that we're not expecting. Like I said, with Miguel Cabrera, not his former self, but he's starting to show the power again. He's not the terrible hole in the lineup that he had been for a few seasons now. He's shown production, but so you're seeing signs from a young team and how they're starting to turn around. And that's when typically a wise owner and wise GM would start to add to that team, and especially specifically through free agency. And it just so happens that a lot of things are lining up for the Tigers that I really like. They're one of their biggest holes. There's two main issues with this roster where it stands right now is, I'm going to say, starting pitching depth, but also shortstop. Nico Goodrum has been holding down the shortstop position. They played Isaac Paredes there a little bit. The Castro twins have played a little bit of shortstop. It's just there's no real top prospect coming up through their system either. That's going to be able to fill the shortstop roles. But fortunately for the Tigers, this offseason contains one of the most, I guess I'd say, again, historic shortstop free agent classes we've ever seen, with Javi Baez, Carlos Correa, Corey Seager. It would have been Francisco Lindor, but of course he was traded and then signed, unfortunately, for the Mets for $341 million. But it just happens to line up where if the Tigers decide they are ready to start to win, and there are some signs of that, and Chris Ilitch, the owner of the Tigers, is willing to spend the money in a similar way his father was when he was alive, then we might have something. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for the Tigers to sign one of those top shortstop free agents. And I think the obvious one would be Carlos Correa, who happened to be in Detroit this past weekend. The way that would, I'm connecting a lot of dots here, but the way this would work, why it would make sense, is his former manager is AJ Hinch, and they have a relationship and they had success together. So it's not just, they're just going to sign Carlos Correa because whatever. There is a connection there, at least, where he might be interested in coming to Detroit, an up and coming team, and he has a connection with the manager. He knows what AJ Hinch is all about. You could easily say he knows about cheating, the punchline, the obligatory punchline, but whatever. I can't deny it. There might be that connection there too, but I thought there was some logical sense on why there might be hope for the Tigers to sign that big name, which would instantly catapult them into a contender status. The other part of the free agency puzzle that I thought was, and that coincides with a huge weakness of the Tigers, is their rotation depth, as I mentioned earlier. So signing a veteran free agent pitcher would make a lot of sense. And there happens to be another one with Detroit ties coming on the market as an unrestricted free agent in 2022, and that would be future Hall of Famer Justin Verlander. He is unfortunately hurt right now and missing his final season in Houston, but basically my plan is to pillage Houston of all of their free agents now, if we're taking Carlos Correa, and sign Justin Verlander, who did not leave Detroit of his own will. He was traded eventually to the Astros. He should have been traded to the Cubs, but that's a whole nother story. and had some of his most successful years in Houston. And I think there's no reason to think he wouldn't be interested in bookending his career coming back to Detroit, especially on a team where he can be a mentor to some incredible pitchers that are coming through. Kind of the opposite of the beginning of his career, where he was the young phenom that was mentored by guys like Kenny Rogers. He could play that role. His wife, of course, Kate Upton, is from Michigan, so they have never lost their ties to the state. He has spoken often about his affinity for Detroit and how it always have a big place in his heart. And I think there's a lot of logic and a lot of, like I said, I'm connecting dots, but I think those are easily connected dots. So if you add Justin Verlander to that rotation in 2022 and a legit shortstop, I think there's a lot to be excited about in Detroit in the future. So look out, White Sox.
Yeah, I'm not really worried, but
Yeah, clearly
cool.
you're not worried, but
It's so weird. It's so weird though. You brought up Justin Verlander because I looked up Justin Verlander today because I was like, is he gonna be able to come back this year? Because we're like at the 10-month mark or whatever. I like knew that, so I looked it up, and there was an article about how he would consider coming back to Detroit to end his career. So, and it's something he said he's thought about often.
yeah,
So,
my ideas here are not original necessarily. I'm not the first to bring
well,
these
I
connect
mean,
these dots.
I would have, yeah, I would think Correa. Anyone who's formerly played for a manager,
Yeah.
like you kind of say, oh, well, they might want to go there.
Well,
So,
it was funny because during the Houston series in Detroit this week, the Correa got a smattering of applause by some like-minded Tigers fans, I think, that had the same idea, like, hey, let's get this guy on a good side. So don't boo him when he comes up to the plate. Let's see if he wants to sign here next year. So
don't yell, burn in hell, cheater.
yeah, that would be a bad idea.